Sunday Surefire Podcast. It's your host tonight, Aaron, downtown Brown, and no one else. It's just me this week. Wanted to get this episode out there to just kind of zone in on some DFS again. We've had some, first couple weeks of the season, first quarter of the season. I love right because now we got a little bit of data. We kind of can start compiling it and see, what type of trends we're looking at, matchups. Definitely got to exploit matchups week to week. So from the but got to represent Sunday Surefire with a little bit of old school DFS that we're known for. So, just kind of going over last week. Ethan and I did call out James Cook, got you 25 points last week. Wrote a blog, so make sure you're checking out our blogs when we're sending those out. A little hidden gem called out Drake May. He gave you 23 points in your lineup last week. And the one I got to be proud of is Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I was a true believer of Kyle Pitts last week, and he came through and gave you 18 fantasy points too. So I kind of want to ride the wave and hopefully turn some of that luck into week 5 as well. So um, we'll dive right into it. Okay, so usually like to do is just call out kind of some of your more expensive plays in DFS. These are the guys that you got to spend up on. We like to call it our bullish buys, right? So, if you're spending more money in your DFS lineup, they better be worth it, right? So this first guy I'm gonna show here. Actually, I haven't had a whole lot of 2025 data on this year because he's been hurt, right? And that's gonna be Jaden Daniels. Okay, so I'm kinda high on Jaden Daniels this week. Yeah, he's 7,000. We sometimes like to go a little bit cheaper at QB. Last week, I called out Drake May. He was in the 5,000 range, gave you the 23 points. But I really like Jaden this week against the Chargers. One thing with Daniels, yes, he is coming back from injury. But we got to remember he's on this Commanders team that a lot of fans have high hopes. They have a lot of high expectations after making it far in the playoffs last year. They're coming off of a loss to Atlanta, guys, right? So a lot of times in DFS, you got to kind of look around what's going on in the league, right? This has got to be a get right game for the Commanders. He's got to kind of take his team back. Yeah, we had that one nice week of Mariota, but hey, this is Daniels's team, right? So I'm kind of high on him having a big week. He probably could have started last week, but they wanted to give him that extra rest. So I'm not really worried about his injury. Uh, matchup wise in DFS, I really love him going against the Chargers. They have the fourth worst pass rush in the league. So, with that being, Khalil Mack is on injured reserve as well. So yeah, I think you give Jaden Daniels an open pocket. He's gonna find the open guy. He doesn't have to go through that many of well, I guess he can go through more of his reads if he wants to, right? But he's kind of known just get that, first read, second read. If it's not there, he'll bust open a long run as well. So I think Jaden this week's gonna give you some nice passing fantasy points, and he's gonna bust it open with some rushing upside as well. So that is what you're looking for right there. Get that rushing upside in your DFS lineup as well. Get those extra sneaky points. So I'm going Jaden Daniels as my bullish buy of the week. All right. So with that, if you're spending up at some positions, you gotta figure out where you're gonna save some money at, right? So this is gonna be your cheap play. Next, I'm going with a guy that some fantasy managers are a little upset with this year, but I think this is also a great get right game, and it's actually gonna be in the exact same game. That's gonna be Lad McConkey, all right? So he's only 5,500, this week, um, playing in that, Chargers Commanders game. Yeah, I think this is just perfect week for him, to break out, right? So, part of the reason I was such a big believer of, Pitts last week is, the Commanders have the worst slot defense in the league, right? And they're showing it, right? They they just left a game where Drake London and Kyle Pitts, kind of just blew up the game right last week, right? So if you're a London or Pitts owner, I know you're liking that. But this week, hey, we know that Lad McConkey, that's where he lives and thrives in the slot. So I'm gonna keep going with that matchup. We know we can exploit that. So, my one little quick note, don't overthink the QJ hype right now. I mean, in DFS, we know, hey, it's all about matchups. It's any given Sunday, anybody can blow up. We know how good of a player Lad McConkey still is. So, I'm kind of high on McConkey this week. So at 5,500, it's a great steal in your DFS lineup. So they're also a team that needs a get right game as well. So I really like on both sides of the ball for points to be scored a little bit and a lot of offense as well. So Lad McConkey is my cheap play of the week. All right. And of course, you got to fit in a defense for the week as well. And I'm going with the top team there. I know, I know you got the Bengals, Lions. We all know that the Bengals are just not the same team without Joe Burrow, right? We know Jake Browning. He did okay job. When no one really knew who he was the first year he took over for Burrow, but he's really struggling, right? That Bengals offense is struggling. I mean, I'm seeing fantasy managers putting Chase on the trading block, right? So it's like, okay, well, get your offers now. But yeah, so you got Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, some of those fantasy studs aren't just they're just not turning in those numbers that you were counting on preseason just with that big loss to Burrow. So with that being said, love the Lions defense this week. I mean, Detroit has 14 sacks already on the year. They have 3 picks and 3 fumble recoveries. So, you're almost at the 10 points per week on defense, which is huge. They're really getting after the ball. But yeah, anything over 8 points per week is great, in DFS. Obviously, you wanna luck out and get that defensive touchdown or something like that, but, I think out of all the teams, Lions have a great chance, of getting that and doing so this week, going against the Bengals. So, gotta go with the Lions, this week. I think they're showing that they're flying around, they're getting the sacks, they're getting the picks. It's a great game to maybe spend up a little bit on defense and exploit this matchup as well. So, there you have it, guys. It's like I said, just want to call out, expensive play, cheap play, and your defense. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of framework. Obviously, don't want to give your whole lineup. Need to leave a little bit of creativity to the fans out there too. But of course, if you need any help, always willing to chat with you on our socials. Tweet to us. We got IG, all the socials, Discord. If you don't have the link, also just shoot us a message. We'll get you joined to the community as well. Always some fantasy questions and different things going on in that Discord too. So yeah, don't be a stranger. But yeah, good luck on week 5, and until next time, folks. Peace.